Morning, everyone. Be glad to call our August, excuse me, not August yet. It is July. It's already moving too fast. July, the ninth County Commissioners meeting to order. Ladies and gentlemen, it's customary for us to begin our Commissioners meeting with a prayer by a Commissioner. You're welcome to stand and join us in that prayer. You're welcome to use this time to have your own prayer, or you're welcome to use it for a moment of silence, whichever you choose. And at this time, I'll call on Commissioner Barnes for the invocation.
Pray with me. Heavenly Father, I just worship you today as the Most High God, and I praise you for your hand of grace and mercy upon our country. Lord, I thank you for your hand of protection over our military and our public service officers, Lord, and I praise you for your hand of provision for the cooler temperatures and the needed rain for our crops. And I just pray today for your hand of blessing upon us, for your voice of truth, grace, and wisdom to be with us today as we seek to do your will for the citizens of Nash County. Lord, I pray that the words of our mouth and the meditations of our heart would not only be acceptable unto you, but would be pleasing and glorifying in your sight. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. We also pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have one item that came up after the agenda was published that I'd like to see if any commissioner objects to adding to the agenda at this time. It would be between item 9 and 10. I'll call it 9A. You were given it this morning. It is a approval to award a contract for the Stony Creek and Tar River stream debris removal. Any objection to adding that to the agenda?
No.
Seeing none, we will add it to the agenda. At this time, we have a lot of meetings in June, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 actually, and they were June the 4th, June the 5th, June the 15th, June the 18th, June the 18th again, and June the 28th. I would ask at this time for approval of these minutes in a group, or if you have any corrections, we'd entertain them at this time.
I'll make a motion we approve all the minutes.
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Combs, second by Commissioner Wells to approve the minutes as submitted for the 5 meetings, actually 6 meetings in June. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Minutes stand approved. Good job, Madam Clerk. At this time, we're on item number 5, which is a public comment section, and we, as a board, hear from any member of the public at this time that wishes to speak about any item that is not on the agenda. If it's on the agenda, we would ask to wait until that comes up. We also ask that you sign up prior to the meeting out by the door. I did not have anyone to sign up this morning, but if there's someone that missed that step, we'd be tickled to hear from it this time if there is anyone here to speak. Seeing no one, thank you. We'll move to item 6, which is a public hearing for public safety radios, and that would be presented by Finance Director Donna Wood. Good morning, ma'am.
Okay. I don't know if we go ahead and start the public hearing before we have the I'll just read the
Why don't we make the presentation to the commissioners first, then I'll call for the public hearing, if that's okay with you.
Okay. Nash County distributed a request for proposal to secure a commitment for the purchase of an installment financing agreement, the principal amount not to exceed $3.2 million, to finance the public safety radio project, which includes infrastructure improvements, an existing county-owned tower located at 915 First Street Extension in Nashville, and the purchase of 700, 800 megahertz subscriber unit radios and related equipment. This project is considered necessary to upgrade the county's aging legacy VHF VHF public radio system to comply with the North Carolina State and interoperability plan utilizing the Viper system. And the next part is with our request for proposals on the radios. I distributed approximately 30, distributed to about 30 different national, regional, and local lenders. And as part of the RFP process, responding institutions were asked to provide proposals for terms of 5, 7, and 9 years with fixed interest rate for the entire term. The various financing amounts and alternative amortization structures were requested to be included in order to evaluate the optimal financing method. We received 14 bid proposals with interest rates ranging from 2.6 to 4.8 for a 5-year term, 2.77% to 4.19, 19% for 7-year term, and 3.07% to 3.82% for a 9-year term. And now for, I guess, proceed with the public hearing.
What I'm gonna do is ask any commissioners that got any questions thus far about the proposals. Mr. Belfield, do you have something?
Yes, I think I need to go in and ask this. Everybody on board with the type that we're talking about getting a loan for radios? When I say everybody, I'm talking about public safety.
Yeah, I'll be glad to answer that if it's okay, Donna. I won't ever make the statement that everybody is on board.
But when I say
Belfield.
everybody,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean 100% each person, but I mean
Right.
the public safety
Sure.
entities.
We have Scott Rogers who handled this project in the audits, but I would just say, I think at the end of the journey, we had a buy-in by far the majority. I'm going to say 95% of the people. If you recall, we gave them an option to utilize what we, as a board, were willing to pay for versus what some of them wanted, let them pay the difference. They were a mixed bag of some of them chose to upgrade to Motorola because that's the brand they wanted. A lot of them chose to use what the county had determined to be a radio that would perform well for Nash County. But it all, once we had our last meeting, it died off very quickly. And Mr. Rogers, if you want to add anything to that, I'll be glad to hear from you.
Thank you, summed it up. We're in a good place on it.
Okay. I think we're in a good place, as he said. Very,
Okay.
very good words.
All right.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Wood. At this time, I will call for a public hearing on this matter.
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Commissioner Outlaw, second by Commissioner Belfield. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Ladies and gentlemen, we're now in a public hearing, and this public hearing is to hear from the public on the matter of us entering into an agreement to borrow up to $3.2 million to upgrade our radio system in Nash County. It's an item that we have needed to get into for quite a while. We have done an extensive, and I will say extensive, amount of research on this. We think we're doing the right thing. We certainly hope so because we're spending $3.2 million of the taxpayers' money of Nash County. But the staff has done an excellent job. We had a committee that worked on it of commissioners as well as staff people. And if there's anyone from the public wishes to speak about this item this time, we'd be glad to hear from you. Seeing no one, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing at this time.
I move that we close the public hearing.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Belfield,
Second.
second by Commissioner Outlaw. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Public hearing is now closed, and if there are any more questions, we would entertain them at this time. Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to approve the project and to give direction to the staff which one of the proposals to move forward with.
Make a motion, we approve the project.
Okay, I also need it to include which option. We have three options, a 5-year option, 7-year option, and a 9-year option. Mr. Lamb, do you want to tell us exactly what the main difference is between those three as far as money savings
Yes,
to the
sir.
county?
Yes, sir. The 5-year, in first year, we'll have a half of a payment in this current year because it's going to be biennial payments. So we'll have a payment in February regardless, and then after that, we'll have 2 6-month payments each year. At 7 years, the total payments will be, at 5 years, the total payments in the full second year will be a little over $710,000. And next year, this is money, new money we're going to have to find for the budget. It would be $535,000 in the second year. So that's from a money management position, that's the only difference. Clearly, the 5-year is the cheaper rate. The amount, 3.2%, 3.2 million, is a little over our total estimate. Any extra funds that we borrow not spent will have to be used for debt service. So that will ease that difference. If we go 5 years instead of 7 years, we can use what's left to pay debt service. My biggest concern about next year's budget is, of course, we built in a 5% raise for the employees already, and so that's where I'm torn between 5 and 7%. But I have no, I will be able to handle either one of them. So it's really up to the board if they want to go 5 years or 7 years. Again, if we go 5 or 7 years, we'll have some money left over that first year debt service to apply towards debt service. So that'll ease that new
How much
obligation.
money difference would we save if we went from 5 through to 7? Would not save money?
It's 103,000.
$103,600.
$103,600 over the life of the loan. So you'll spend less interest
Yeah,
if you go 5 years instead of 7 years.
that's what I was thinking about. Would it be worth the difference to go 5 years to save the money? But if you think it's gonna affect the budget that much, you go to 7. I don't think $100-some thousand is gonna affect the budget that much.
Good point. Good point.
I would just like to say, benefit of the board and the public, most people know I am involved in Southern Bank by serving on their local board as chairman. I've asked the question before of the attorney if I was allowed to participate in this discussion, and before he said if I didn't own up to 10% of the stock, which I assure everyone I do not own 10% of the stock, I would probably be in the Bahamas or somewhere at this point in time. But has anything changed, Mr. Durham, that would affect me participating in this discussion?
No, sir.
Okay, you're fine. Okay.
And I will say for the record also that from the very beginning of these discussions, the chairman has been in favor of 5 years. So if he votes 5 years, that's the way he's wanted the whole time. But yeah, we're fine with 5 years. We're fine with 7 years. You do save $103,000 by going 5 years. You increase the debt payment in those years about $170,000, but you get rid of it a lot quicker.
Thank you for getting me started, Mr. Lamb, but I agree that I've said all along I'd like to do 5 years, but it didn't really matter who was low bidder. But if we do 5 years, we do save $103,000, but more importantly, I think we are projected that the lifespan of these radios are going to be somewhere between 8 and 10 years. It would be nice to have a period of time when we weren't
They're
paying
paid
for
off,
radios.
you're not building up.
Exactly. I kind of look at it like buying a car, and I've always tried to teach my children when they buy a car, do not finance it for 7 years just because they will give you 7 years financing, because you would do well to drive the car for 7 years, and then you're gonna be in the hole the rest of your life. Quite frankly, a 3-year loan on an automobile is a lot better, 4 years max. But I look at it the same way. I just like to do the 5 years for the $103,000. But more importantly, we would have a 5-year period, I hope, that we wouldn't be paying for radios, or that we
I think that's
could
what you
build
gotta,
it to be
that's
doing
what you
something
gotta
else.
look at, you know.
Yep.
You pay it out in 5 years, and you got 5 years, you got 5 years to build up,
Yep.
back up.
Exactly. But with that said,
And the quicker you pay off of debt, you save money.
yes, sir,
in
$103,000 in
So,
this case.
when I first looked at it, I said 5 years would be what I would support.
Okay. All right, well, we have a motion to
I would like
accept
to
the
add
request.
5 years to the motion.
Okay, and we have added to that a 5-year term. Is there a second to that motion?
I second.
Second, by Mr. Bellfield. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign. Motion carries, Ms. Wood, and we thank you, and certainly thank all the staff for the hard work on this item.
Thank
And,
thank the committee for all the hard work you did to get here.
We are glad to be here, quite frankly. Any other comments on that item? We'll move to item number 7.
Actually, one more thing that we have to do.
Okay.
Now
Excuse
that
me.
we've determined who we're going to accept the financing with, we need to accept the resolutions accepting the proposal of Southern Bank in connection with the installment financing, and then also accept the resolution for the certain findings and determinations regarding the financing.
Could I entertain a motion to approve what she just said?
Is that two we're doing?
There are
Two
two
items.
resolutions. There's a resolution accepting the proposal of Southern Bank in connection with an installment financing.
But I guess my question was, can we do them both at the same time?
I think so,
Okay.
yes.
Then I move we accept both.
Second.
All right, have a motion by Commissioner Outlaw to accept both resolutions for the chairman to sign, and a second by Commissioner Combs.
Question.
All right, any questions on that item by commissioners? Mr. Manager?
That's the resolution and the budget ordinance?
No, there are two resolutions. There's a resolution accepting the installment financing agreement with Southern Bank, and then there's a resolution making certain findings and determinations regarding the financing.
The second resolution begins in the middle of the page?
It does.
Okay, I got it.
All right, any other questions? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Thank you all. And something else on this
I
item?
have one more item.
Okay.
I think under this, it's the Public Safety Radio Project. I have an amendment to the budget ordinance for the project, so we can, this is to set up, this is to transfer funds from the general fund to, so we can start ordering the equipment before we have the financing in place. We're looking at closing on the loan in mid-August, and in order to get make the money available to order the radios, we wanted to move ahead with an amendment to the capital project ordinance.
Question, Mr. Manager?
Yeah, just clarifying for the board, the base equipment, has that been ordered? It has been, and we encumbered that, we haven't paid for it. Is that correct?
We've paid for some of the infrastructure.
The 1.3 million, or
We've
just
used
some
the-
of that?
We've used a little bit of that money, but the full amount hasn't been.
But we encumbered that whole 1.35 million in last year's
We
budget?
did.
Okay, and we'll be reimbursed at the time of the loan
We will.
for whatever we paid out?
Right, and it was really a loan from the general fund to pay for to start the radio project, and once we get the financing in place, we'll reimburse the general fund for that
Yeah.
amount.
It-
So I'm just requesting that an additional general fund appropriation
For the full project
for the
amount.
full project until
Yeah.
we get the financing in place.
Usually, everything's done in the same year, but because of the two calendar years, we encumbered money last year, and this year, we will get that money back. So it'll show in our fund balance this year. Well, it'll be out of our fund balance this year, but it'll be added back next year.
Not to prolong this discussion, but just to help me understand, and maybe the rest of the board, if we are not gonna use the 3.2 million,
It's,
are we required to borrow the whole 3.2 million?
it's over 3.1 million.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was close, and so we just decided to have a little comfort zone there, and also, we, by law, you can only use excess funds towards debt service, so it would go towards debt service. You can't use it for other things.
And I would think this would include the total cost of the project, including that funds that will be reimbursed to us
Yes.
by individual departments.
When-
And where does that money go?
It goes, what we've spent so far in last budget year and between now and the loan closing will go back to the general fund where it came from.
But when we get reimbursed, and I'm not sure how these departments chose to reimburse us up front or for 5 years or a mixed bag, I guess, where does all that money flow back to?
Anything beyond the base cost, about $2,000 a radio, I believe the agreement was, and we're gonna have to finalize the MOUs before the loan, is that they would pay us back on the same terms as our loan. So if they spent another $50,000, they'll have to pay us that back over the next 5 years.
But couldn't that be used for debt service as well, is really the bulk of my question?
What they pay us?
Yes.
I guess it could.
It can be.
Sure. That's a good idea, yeah. That's,
Slide it to the loan.
it either go back in the general fund, and the general fund would pay the debt service.
I'm just,
Yeah,
just for the benefit of,
Identifying it.
I'm trying to get it straight in my mind, and maybe the rest of the commissioners will be having some income coming in to pay that debt service off, because the departments will be reimbursing us for the difference. Do we have an idea, once we got all of it tied down, what the total reimbursement would be from the department? And if, Scott, if you don't have that yet, that's fine. If you just let us know when you get. Okay. I'd just like to know what that was.
yeah, okay.
Want to make sure we're not making money on it.
No,
I'm sure we're not.
We ain't.
we're not making money.
Okay, what we've got left to do is to entertain a motion to approve the capital project ordinance amendment number 1. That's in your book. Moved by Commissioner Richardson. Is there a second to that motion? Second by Commissioner Outlaw. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? The motion carries. You ready to sit down?
Yes.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is item number 7, a fireworks display permit. Brent Fisher, good morning, sir.
I come before you with an approval for a fireworks pyrotechnics display permit at Rose Hill. The Nash County Fire Marshal's Office has received a permit application to conduct a fireworks display as part of a wedding event on September 1st, 2018 at Rose Hill Plantation located at 3815 Rose Hill Lane, Nashville. The operational permit requester is the contractor Jeff Hale of Hale Artificer Incorporated of Lexington, North Carolina, who is being contracted by La Casa Bella Events, 2920 Elm Gateway, Raleigh, North Carolina. The permit application and accompanying documents are in order, and a copy of the insurance bond with Nash County as an additional insured is attached. North Carolina General Statute 14-410 requires the Board of Commissioners give approval prior to the Fire Marshal issuing the permit. The Nash County Fire Marshal's Office recommends approval of the operational permit for Mr. Hale.
Any questions on this item? I'm just wondering if this is a new law that we have to get a permit for fireworks at a wedding, since all of them might all begin with fireworks, I think.
It's been a standing rule.
All right. Any questions? Seeing none, entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Barnes. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wells. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Item number 8 is a request for waiver of UDO subdivision standard lots on roads with capacity deficiencies. Ms. Nixon, good morning.
Good morning. Just to change things up a little for this fiscal year, I'm going to try to be up here less time than Donna was.
I don't think you'll hold out the whole year, but go ahead, ma'am.
Well, I like to start strong.
I hope we have some more solar farm requests.
What we have before us today is a request, as you said, for a waiver of the UDO subdivision standards regarding lots on roads with capacity deficiencies. You'll remember, these come around every so often based on our UDO requirement that if a road is classified as having capacity deficiencies or being a high-traffic road is really what it is a daily traffic count of over 1,000 vehicles per day, then lots that front on those roads have to have either additional road frontage, or there's an option for reducing the amount of additional road frontage by having additional acreage, or you can apply for a waiver from the extra road frontage if you can prove either a physical hardship or equal or better performance. We get these, I would say, a couple of times a year. We've typically had these, so it's not a very unusual occurrence. What we have today is a Dennis Langley owns 2 adjoining tracts. If you see this, this is one tract that's rectangular, comes off of Joyner Road.
Dennis and Christina, by the way.
Dennis and Christina.
Yeah.
Dennis and Christina own this tract, and then this tract is actually in Dennis, and I believe his first wife, or someone that's been deceased, so the properties are actually in 2 different names, but Dennis Langley is the common thread, I guess.
Okay.
So, but this tract is sort of oddly shaped. It comes around here. This is a pack house, or not a residence here. This is a residence, this is a residence, and this is a residence, all currently on this sort of irregularly shaped parcel. Parcel is located on South NC 58, just below the intersection with Joyner Road. And the second parcel that's involved in the recombination is this rectangular parcel, which does front on Joyner Road. Okay, so what the property owner would like to do is to create a new lot here, and to create lots in which each house that exists on the property currently is on its own lot, and then there would be one new vacant, newly created lot. So basically, it would involve, I'm going to show it to you on the photograph first before I put the plat up. I think the photograph is a little bit easier to see before we put the plat up. So what they'll do basically is this house, property line would be established in this area, which would put this house on a lot by itself. One would be created in this area, which would create one new lot here, and then this house would be on a lot by itself when this portion of this line would be moved to this area. Okay? So if you look at your, you can see this a little closer. There we go. So the new lines are here, and here's the home, here, and here is the home, and this one would be moved to here, so that would be the new lot configuration there. Okay, so the result would be 4 lots instead of the 2 that currently exist. And I'm going to go, and you can see on this, on this plat, this shaded area would be a 45-foot wide access easement or access along this newly created lot number 2, and it would provide access for this newly created lot, plus this new lot that has this home on it, and would also provide access to the church property, which is not part of the subdivision, but it does currently use this driveway as its access, and that parcel is landlocked. So that new access easement would also provide access for that church. Okay. And it is proposed Lot 2, this lot here, that has insufficient lot width in order to satisfy the standard requirements for the zoning district and its location on South NC Highway 58. So that's the reason that we're here today. It's this property, this lot here, that requires the additional road frontage. Excuse me. And so therefore, the land surveyor, on behalf of the property owner, has requested that waiver of the additional lot width requirement, and it is based on the shared use of this new access easement as providing equal or better performance to what exists out there currently. And as you can see, currently, there is an existing driveway that is accessed, that is used to access this in the church property. Okay?
So, I'm sorry.
Yes?
Go ahead, sir.
The aerial with the red lines, that's the existing.
Right, this is the
Lines.
existing property configuration.
Okay, so right now, that one area is all one lot.
All of this is right up to this point, everything except that lot. So all of this is one lot already.
Thank you.
Okay?
Questions from commissioners?
Yeah, if, the, UDO is, this, if we change it, I mean, amend it, would that, why do we have to do that if it's already in compliance with the UDO?
I'm sorry, go ahead. This lot that would be created here would not be in compliance. This lot right here, because it's being created on this high-trafficked road, the ordinance requires it to have additional lot width in the front instead of 100 feet, like 150 feet, or.
So
like
it
that.
would
So-
be in compliance with the waiver?
Yes, the waiver makes it in compliance. That's established as one of the things that can be accomplished.
Other
Oh,
questions?
go ahead. I'm gonna go with the, I haven't given you the TRC recommendations yet, so let me
Let
finish
me
that
make
up.
sure we don't have any
Okay.
more questions first. Is it the intent, you think, for these two lots that are accessed one way now, for them to put in an access, or are they all gonna still be accessed like they've currently been accessed? It creates two lots or two houses that are gonna have to have access from a different direction, it appears like. Or we're not concerned with that, I guess.
What they have now, I believe, is of course, it's all on one lot. And by establishing this access, what the ordinance requires is that this one would be landlocked,
Right.
and then the new one would be, this house actually has frontage here on 58.
Right.
They currently use a drive coming in here, and if the property owners at the time wanted to continue with that informal arrangement, they certainly could allow to do that. The ordinance doesn't require access to this house because they have existing direct frontage.
And the same thing with the one that goes out on Joyner Road then?
And the same thing with this one, correct?
Okay. In doing this, the one on Joyner Road, I don't think that access currently going to that house would meet our standard for emergency vehicles. Is this the time we would try to get that improved, or we don't worry about that because it's only a request for waiver on the, high-volume road?
Do you mean the access that comes here and turns and goes
Correct.
that way?
Yes.
This, you could certainly, that's certainly something you could discuss with the applicant in this waiver. The idea behind the waiver and the reason for granting the waiver is equal or better performance. So you can, I think, look at the performance of what's happening on the property currently.
It's
And talk,
just a thought
right,
I
and
had.
talk about that. You certainly could talk about that. There would certainly not be any, it certainly doesn't require any prohibition or require any change in how the people are accessing currently. It would affect something, could possibly affect something in the future if that access was no longer popular and didn't have a specific protection.
Well, the requested waiver allows for equal or better performance.
The waiver would be approved based on equal or
Right.
better performance, so you have to be able, the commissioners would find that that equal or better performance had been attained.
Been met.
Right, had been met. And I would note that that this does include access to the church property, which is not part of it. I think it's a little easier to see on this one. TRC considered this subdivision waiver request on June the 1st, 2018, unanimously recommended approval, a conditional approval based on its determination that the design was otherwise consistent with the subdivision standards in the UDO, and that the waiver will result in equal or better performance in furthering the purposes of the ordinance, subject to the conditions that I'll get to in just a second with the planning board recommendation. Then it went to the planning board, on June the 18th. The planning board also unanimously recommended a conditional approval based on same determinations that the waiver will result in equal or better performance in the furtherance the purposes of the UDO. And the conditions are in your packet. I would note a couple in particular. I'll just go through them quickly. The two subject properties, as I mentioned previously, are not currently named in the same ownership. So in order to accommodate the recombination, I believe they have to be in the same ownership in order to move those property lines. But that's a legal issue that they just need to be sure gets resolved before the plat can be recorded. Nash County Emergency Services will approve and assign a unique road name for the new access easement in this way. They will have a new road name, and with the new road name, because we're establishing that new path, then the addresses that would access off that, particularly this and the church and whatever would be developed on this new lot too, those would then have addresses changed in order to reflect addressing off of the path. Okay? And Planning and Inspections Department will conduct a field inspection to be sure that the 20-foot wide passable travelway that's required by the ordinance is established. Typically, that's a problem when it goes through wooded areas, may not be as much of an issue on this site, but they want to be sure that that travelway is passable and unobstructed. And the environmental health needs to evaluate the new lot to be sure it's eligible for an on-site wastewater improvement permit prior to recording. And the final one is that the property owner or the developer should submit and record a deed of easement, an easement maintenance agreement that explicitly grants the right of use of the 45-foot wide easement, in egress and ingress, and utility easement to lots 2 and 3, and as well as to the adjacent lot in the Oak Level Baptist Church, and also that maintenance agreement has to designate whose responsibility it is going forward to maintain that passageway, that easement right-of-way.
Any questions of those? Ms. Dixon, I still have some concern about the new lot facing Joyner Road and access to that house that is on that lot.
This one?
No, the one that faces Joyner Road.
The
Oh,
top
this
one, top one.
Yes,
They gonna have some-
because see, there is no way to get to Joyner Road currently,
Without establishing a separate driveway,
correct?
if in fact this access here were not direct.
But by cutting that out and establishing that lot with that house on it, do we not have some concern about it having a legal access to it?
Well, but according to the ordinance, they have access by virtue of having this frontage. So they have the ability, they may have to construct their own driveway, but they have the ability to access a right-of-way directly.
Okay. So
From there.
we don't get, that ends our concern.
That's correct. From a functional standpoint, the way that it operates now is different because it's been accessed through this concern, but it's not something that the UDO would handle.
But you have a requirement for emergency vehicle to get to the house or not?
Ye-
That's only in the easement that we're gonna check it out, the portion that's shown in the easement.
That we would check the passive ability to pass to get to that point.
But that easement doesn't get to that lot.
And it's a private easement.
Yes, that's correct.
You have a gentleman behind you that can answer a
I
question.
think he can answer that question.
Okay, okay.
My name is Tony Bartlett. I'm with Bartlett Engineering and Surveying in Wilson, and I'm looking after this for Mr. Langley.
Right. If you
Mr.
just
Langley's
give your
intent,
address for us, Mr. Bartlett.
excuse me?
If you would state your address for the record.
Oh, it's 1906 Nash Street in Wilson.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes,
Good
sir.
to see you again.
Mr. Langley's intent on the lot on Joyner Road is to remove that mobile home and build a new house there, a stick-built house, and create a driveway coming off of Joyner Road to get to that new house. The mobile home is not in great shape, so his intent is to remove it and build a house and create a drive.
Is the mobile home currently occupied?
I think it is.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but I think it is.
Right.
But it's a rental unit, and I think he's planning on doing away with it in the near future, was my impression that he told me.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? No public hearing required on this?
Correct,
Correct that no public hearing is required?
correct. No
Okay.
public hearing is
All
required.
right, I'd entertain a motion from the board for approval or denial of the request, and understand the request is really just a waiver of the width of the lot because it's located on 58 and the number of cars per day on 58.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of the requested waiver of the subdivision standards of the UDO based on the conditions that Ms. Nixon specified, and they're noted in our package.
All right, a motion by Commissioner Outlaw, second by Commissioner Richardson. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? The motion carries. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
We're now on item number 9, which is Northern Nash Water System Engineering Service Agreement Revision. Morning, Mr. Tolson.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Our original engineering service agreement with the Wooten Company has reached a point where we are needing to adjust the scope of services slightly due to a couple of things that have been discovered during the course of the design and construction part of this project. One of the two things, and I'll just take them as they are on the agenda item memo that you've got, the easements, the individual easements that are needed for the design of this phase 1 of the system are in a little more heavily populated area of the county. There are just simply more individual lot owners, making our number of required easements, which was 25 to 30 in the original estimate of the scope of the contract, to around 90. I think the county attorney has probably seen and put his hands on at least 90 so far. We hope that 90 is the number, and this is what I am told is the estimate for the what will get us to finish all of these easements. Unfortunately, that is the nature of where we're going and where things move a little bit here or there. It's hard to estimate how many easements you will actually need until you get to the design side of things and find out what is in the way and what isn't in the way, and when you have to go onto private property and try and get these easements. So that's the nature of this request. They're requesting, we had about $40,000 in the original scope, and this would be an increase of $65,000 to cover the additional need for easement services by several surveying firms and the engineer to get the coordination and agreements done. So that's that portion of it, and that's the expansion in the scope of services for this project for the easement side. The other unknown that has come up during this process is we had a set of working drawings for the connections that we were going to be making in the Dorches area of the system to be able to tie in and feed the system. It turns out that part of that system that was shown on the original drawings from the late 70s, early 80s was not ever put in. and we were banking on it having been there. It turned out to be, through just discovery, digging a lot of holes and looking for it, that 12-inch line was not there, and we needed to put it in to be able to build Phase 1 the way we need to build Phase 1. Due to some timing issues and some inducements that we're going to be able to serve a few new customers that we're going to be creating jobs in the area, we requested from the State Revolving Fund of the Department of Water Infrastructure, who is helping us fund this project. We requested them to review whether a change in adding this additional footage to our contract was coverable and reimbursable by the loan agreement and everything that we have been putting into place. They have told us that it is. We got that word from our most recent update, and that's why you see a revision to the scope in that to say the design can go forward, it is a reimbursable expense. Now, you'll also see in there that the construction of the project has already begun. The design was done. We were going to have this anyway, so we moved forward in good faith that that would be reimbursable, but the design of it had to happen in order for the entire project to begin, because that is one of the main feeds to the system. So what you have there is an increase of about 4,000 feet of 12-inch line being put in to run up to Fluellen Drive. And it ties in where the old hotel, but where All Red Mechanical is currently at, and runs where it crosses under 95 and runs up towards 43 to be able to tie into our main Phase 1 lines that are under design right now. So that's the line that we thought was there that we had to get put in the ground because it wasn't there. And that's the additional, let's see, the number of the design portion of it was a $15,000 change, and then there was also a $16,700 change in the construction observation fee, which is the inspectors watching the line go in and making sure everything's done. Like I said, part of this cost has been incurred already. It is reimbursable. I would like to request that we speak with the contractor about well, not the contractor, but our consultant who this contract is with, to possibly revise the construction observation a little bit so we have a little less frequent period and save some cost on this. But like I said, this part of the project is under construction, and we may be about halfway through that area. We have funds built into the existing contract with them that this would cover, but this additional changes the overall scope. When we get into Phase 1 construction, we may reduce some of that observation in order to be able to cover this bit of observation that's currently underway and trying to make things happen. So what I would ask and request today is that you recommend approval of this amendment, and that we go back and attempt to negotiate the construction observation fee to a more amenable term on the end of the project, which is, we have not finalize the construction observation phase of the contract for the engineering services agreement as of yet.
Questions from the board on this request? Mike, do you recall the contract amount that we pay in for this water line?
Off the top of my head, I do not. I can get that to you, but I want to say it was in the 280 to 300 range overall, but I am not certain of that. I would rather not tell you something that's incorrect. I can check that and have that to you, though.
I think it's considerably less than that.
That may be.
I understand.
I know that we pulled the construction services out of it and only awarded design of Phase 1. So I may be thinking of the overall contract amount, what's in the grant applications and things.
Gotcha. My concern is at that 30, with the engineering fee on that line, which is going to be a little over $30,000, is an awful high percentage of the amount that I think the contract is. I mean, like double what it ought to be.
I would agree. It is right at double what you would assume. It's a 10 and 10, 10% on the design and maybe around 10% on the construction, in that range. Yes, sir. Wonder why that is. Other than just the general fee, what I've been told by the consultant is that that is the fee structure they had set up for the beginning phase 1 of the project, and the number we've awarded was only for design fees, so we were only at a 10% fee schedule for that. This little bit of construction has just kicked it into.
I'm not quite following you, but I do have a lot of concern awarding this as presented. And then, of course, on the easements, in their original proposal, did they give you a number of expected easements of 25 to 30, or did that come up afterwards?
25 to 30 was what they said they had based their fee on the last countywide water system they had done for us, which was about 25 or 30, which was more rural in nature and just did not have as many individual property owners.
But my real question is that called out to 25 to 30, or did that come after the fact?
No, sir, that's roughly what it was based on from the first project.
But was it in the contract?
That's my question.
The numbers, 25 to 30, was it in the original?
I believe I've seen 25,
Okay.
but I'll double check that as well for the exact wording.
Is this time sensitive where we couldn't get a little more information prior to awarding this?
Certainly, we could get a little more time. I've just brought it before you because the construction of Llewellyn is ongoing, and I wanted to get some of this tied down, but at the same time, we have some time.
I really would like to see a little bit more information. Mr. Lamb, do you have some comment about it?
That would be fine to wait and get a little more information. I'm not a change order person, so, but I understand there are more easements, and we did discover that Llewellyn situation.
Well, there's no doubt we thought the line was there, the line's not there. We owe them for designing that line.
Right.
Do we owe them a little over $30,000 is my question. I would think the fee should match what the fee is for the rest of the contract, or very similar and not double what it is. And then on the easements, I'd just like to know how it was specified in there. 'Cause that's just a lot of money to be working on easements, but we can talk about that if you're okay with us. Is the board okay with us looking at
I
this?
would just remind you, we don't have a mid-month meeting, so you'd be looking at a 30-day delay without a special call or recess.
Mr. Chairman?
And you have to put that line in there in order to serve.
Well, the line is almost in already.
If it's almost in, and you're amending what, to pay for it, or are you amending to?
No, we have agreed to pay for it. It's the engineer's fee that we're looking at on that part, plus the whole area as it relates to easements.
And the engineer's fee includes observing the work being done. Mr. Chairman, just for the board's information, we are going to need either a special meeting or a recessed meeting on July the 30th, or as close to that day as possible, regarding home health.
Wayne, are you okay to delay this? I think we.
Oh, I'm okay to delay it. I just want to make sure that the project would be okay.
Yeah,
And,
the project will be fine.
If I may, we have our monthly update meeting on the Northern Nash system on Wednesday, and we can have it resolved and ready in plenty of time for that meeting. I feel certain we can.
And to Mr. Lamb's point about the 30th, is that something we're going to discuss and look at calendars, and we're not locking in on
No,
that?
it's something I have for managers'
Okay,
reports.
'cause
to-
I'm gonna be I think I'm out of town on that
Okay.
date.
Okay. I have it on my agenda to discuss during managers' comments.
I would entertain a motion to table this request until our next scheduled meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Barnes. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by like sign? Motion carries to table to a time specific, which will be our next scheduled meeting. Moving on to item number 10, which is, you gonna take care of that, Mr. Tolson, or?
Well, I was going to do 9A, the one we slipped in.
Excuse me, I do have that, I'm sorry. This is the item we added to the agenda, and you can proceed with that, sir.
Thank you. The item in front of you is a request for approval of award of a contract to a public bid we had back in March. And honestly, we just had not come to you to award this yet, just due to a lack of being really, really busy right now. So I apologize for this. I should have had this to you a little bit sooner. I thought we had taken the bid tabulation to you before now, but we are at a point now where we are ready to execute contracts for the stream debris removal. We've had review of different contracts, and we're ready to move forward. There are some timing things in order to be able to get out and do this work that are kind of vital to get started and get moving on. So we would like to request, what you have there in front of you is the bid tabulation for the bid we took back on March, I believe, 29th. It says that I sealed this on April 4th for that, so I thought that I had gone to the very next meeting on it, and I could not find where we had done that, and I apologize for that delay. But we would recommend award of this contract 1 and 2 to David Lane, who is a contractor out of Hertford, North Carolina, that does a lot of this type of work. This is a very fair price, very below what our estimates were and below what the grant awards were for this. We have 2 different grants that are covering this. I'm not sure which one is Golden Leaf and which one is the Soil and Water Conservation grant, which one covers which, but the Stony Creek one, job came in at $174,600, and contract 2, Tar River, came in at $85,360. Both of these were below estimate and were covered by the total amount that has been covered by these 2 grants, and we would recommend award to this contractor and ask that you allow us to move forward with executing contracts.
Do we supervise this work ourselves?
We will have a supervisor on staff through the Soil and Water Office that has been identified, and he's going to be out there on a periodic basis to inspect and observe, and we will fill in from our staff here some of the easement sections and access points along Tar River and Stony Creek, just through our familiarity and experience with it. So.
Okay. Any questions from board members? Seeing none, Mr. Manager?
Yeah, I'd just like to make a comment. I believe the Stony Creek part is the soil and water grant, and the Tar River is the Golden Leaf grant. But this is a great example of the public going to their commissioners and identifying issues that need to be corrected. I do know that people that lived along these streams, one in particular in Stony Creek, went to, I think it was Commissioner Outlaw,
Correct.
And he asked the board to look at what we could do, and we didn't think there was any money out there, and we started looking around and had another county contact us and tell us they had just gotten a grant from Soil and Water up in Currituck County, and so we were able to explore that, and we ended up getting some money from Golden Leaf too. So again, it's just an example of citizen action, going to their elected people and getting the ball rolling. So thank you.
Any other questions? Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Bellfield. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Outlaw. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Mike, just one closing comment. Is the portion of Tar River in Rocky Mount, I would guess?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. And you have someone will let them know what we're doing?
Yes, sir. They've actually called and asked for several, hey, when are you going to get started? Okay. We'd just like to know. So I will notify their Public Works Director here shortly.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Thank you. And are you doing 10 or Mike Phillips doing it? Mike Phillips. Okay. Be glad to. Morning, sir.
Morning, everyone.
One.
So, we received notice in February of the need to update our local water supply plan, which is normally done once a year. Local water supply plan is an assessment of water systems' current and future water needs and its ability to meet those. needs. All local units of local government that provide or plan to provide public water service that regularly serve 1,000 or more service connections, or 3,000 people required to submit one of these plans annually. Our staff submitted our updates in March. There were really no major changes. Just an example of some minor things, we increased our number of metered connections, both residential and commercial. On June 20th, we received notification that our submittal was reviewed by the Division of Water Resources, and it meets all minimum requirements. So at this time, the final step is for the board to review our submittal and adopt a resolution which either approves and/or accepts our submitted plan.
Any questions from board members of Mark this time? Mr. Lamb? Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Combs. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Richardson. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, by a like sign. Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Made it easy for your first appearance to the board. Yes, sir. Next item on the agenda is item number 11, budget amendments. Donna Wood?
Okay. I just wanted to add one thing with the resolutions that we just approved. They will go with the application to the Local Government Commission on August 7th for approval of the financing of the public radio project. And they will, that's part of the findings that, the resolution for the finding of fact that we approved. So for the budget amendments, the following budget amendments are presented for the board's consideration for fiscal year 2019. First item is with JCPC funding. This was not available at the time that we adopted the fiscal year 19 budget, and it's additional funding for the 7th District TFC, which will be sponsored by the Methodist Home for Children to assist with alternatives to commitment to secure facilities for out-of-home placement of youth in the 7th Judicial District. No county funds are requested. It's $69,131. Next item is senior services, home community care block grant. At the time the budget was adopted, the final funding had not been set for the block grant, and therefore the amounts from the previous year were used for budgeting. This amendment allocates according to the fiscal year 19 home community care block grant. It does increase fund balance by $6,323 based on program matching requirements. And I do have one final item because of the capital project ordinance amendment. I did not add this, and I apologize. It's, I did not have it on the one that we have in the agenda, but it's to transfer general fund, fund balance appropriation to the capital project ordinance of $1,865,000. And this is, before we get our proceeds in place from the financing. So we'll need to, once the financing proceeds are in place, I'll be back in front of the board requesting that we move the money back to the general fund.
Is this a given project or?
I'm sorry, the public safety radio project that we allocated, that we did the amendment for to start ordering the radios to have the money in place.
So it's a budget amendment for that?
It is a budget amendment to transfer fund balance to the capital project.
Temporary.
Temporarily.
Okay. Any questions on these budget amendments? Seeing none, entertain a motion for approval, including the one she added.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw, second by Commissioner Richardson. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. Thank you, ma'am. Now on item number 12, board appointments. Stacy?
Good morning.
Morning.
The first item we have is for the Farmers Market Advisory Board. County Manager Z Lamb has requested that the board consider replacing Stacy Schatzer on the Farmers Market Advisory Board with Mr. Lamb, and in exchange replacing Mr. Lamb on the Upper Coastal Plain Council of Government Board with Stacy Schatzer.
If I may say one thing.
Switch.
The Coastal Plains, the COG, the one benefit that we get from the COG is in the area of aging, and of course, that's Ms. Schatzer's expertise from her earlier life, and having been the head of the senior center for all those years, she understands that role. Also, I've got a very keen interest in the farmers market, and so we would just ask you to consider this recommendation.
Did the presenter have an opinion, or she's not allowed to have one?
I'm perfectly comfortable with the recommendation.
All right. Any questions on this recommendation? Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wells. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Bellfield. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries.
Okay. The next one is for the ABC Board. The Nash County Board of Commissioners appoints a chairperson for the ABC Board annually. Julia Coggindale Bryant was appointed in December 2017 after the former chairperson stayed on an additional 6 months to oversee a construction project. It's time, according to our normal schedule, to appoint an ABC Board chairperson.
I thought we had just done this, but I see now why.
It seems like we just
Seemed like
we just did it.
And is there a recommendation from that board for chairman, or it didn't come with one, I don't think?
We've not heard, no.
I would recommend to the board that we leave the current chairman in place if someone would make that motion, or is there someone that thinks differently?
I offer motion to approve keeping the chair in place that's already there.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Bellfield,
Second.
second by Commissioner Richardson. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries.
Okay, the next one is for the Tourism Development Authority. Terms expired April 30th, 2018 for Tracy Jackson and Ernestine Neal, and we need 2 recommendations for the TDA.
I have brought one to you this morning, a Judy Winstead, who commissioners may remember has been a real estate agent in Nash County, very familiar with the whole county, from one end to the other. And I talked to Ms. Winstead about this, and she was very glad to serve, and I'd like to request that she be approved to go on it. Ms. Barnes was working on the second one. Are you still working on that?
I actually got confirmation on the name just a few months ago.
Okay.
So I would recommend Kay Mitchell. She's also a realtor in the Spring Oak area and knows the county well, and actually has served on our hospital board, I believe, in the past, and has lived in the area a long time.
We do not have anything on her, I don't think.
We do not.
Okay.
I will get the paperwork
Okay.
completed.
All
That's
right.
okay.
That's fine.
Are these 2 people named that's listed here eligible for reappointment?
They are not, sir.
They are not.
They are not, that's the problem.
Well, I know it didn't say it, so that's why I asked.
Well, it said it on our last agenda, and I asked that it be rolled over for another month to give us a chance to find someone.
And if you look at the worksheet, they're not.
Right, correct, that they are not. Mr. Bellfield, I did a little research on that board in case someone had a question. We currently have, out of the 15-member board, with these, if these 2 are approved, it would leave us 5 people that live in Rocky Mount on the board. We currently have 5 minorities on the board. So that, and the dispersion of where they live is pretty well dispersed throughout the county. So I think it would leave us in real good shape in those categories. So I'd entertain, if you want to do these separately or together, I'd entertain a motion at this time.
I make a motion, we approve both of these for the
Second.
TDA.
All right, have a motion for approval by Commissioner Combs, a second by Commissioner Barnes. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries.
Okay, the next one is for the Nash County Board of Adjustment. C.A. Gardner's term expired April 30th, 2018. Mr. Gardner's replacement would be filling the 3rd alternate position. It would not be a voting member. This too is one that's been carried over for a couple of months, and he is not eligible for reappointment.
Anyone have an idea on that?
I just have an individual I'm talking to, and I'll get with you on that one,
Okay.
unless someone else has someone else today.
Ms. Dixon, you were investigating an item. Did that pan out or not pan
I
out?
have not heard back. I have sent, the information about it to somebody, but to that person.
Hadn't heard back from us
Yes,
yet.
I have not heard back.
Okay. All right.
Okay?
Okay, we'll just leave that one for August then.
Okay. The next one is for Turning Point Workforce Development Board. On June 30th, 2018, terms expired for both Helen Collins and Steve Rogers. Both of these individuals have served 3 terms on the board and are not eligible for reappointment.
Any commissioner have someone in mind for that?
Mr. Davis, I'm still working with Mr. Williams. They have certain criteria for their board members that has to be met by the state and federal because of them getting the money, and he's checking with local bid companies to see if he can come up with 2 good names.
Okay.
So
All
hope
right.
to have it by the end of the month.
All right. We'll roll that to August as well then.
Okay. And then, of course, our Consolidated Human Services Board, and we don't have a recommendation.
Right. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We're now on item 13, tax reports. Mr. Wren. Morning, sir.
Good morning. Of course, tax revenues continue to be coming in at a good pace, and we're very pleased thus far with what's happening. And this report is for informational purposes. But obviously, our staff and the taxpayers as well have been working really hard to get their taxes paid, and we're very pleased with that. So I just, this is for informational purposes only, but I'll be glad to try to answer your questions.
Just from your demeanor this morning and coming in very well, and you're only halfway through the year, apparently you're going to approach 100 this year then. Or exceed.
Yeah, and some days I feel like that's closer to my age, but no, it's been a good year, and it's always nice to stand up here and give you good news.
Well, we thank you, sir. Thank you, staff, for all you do.
Thank you.
You want to move to item number 14, we'll do tax refunds.
Yes, sir. We do need your approval to disperse those funds.
Any questions on the tax refund, Sean? Looks like we had a deck, if I remember right, that got counted as heated space.
Yes, sir. That's exactly what happened.
Probably had a high utility bill too, maybe, didn't he?
Yes, sir. This, I guess you could say this time of year, it might be heated space, but
Yeah,
year-round it's not.
good point.
And we got to fix that.
Entertain a motion to approve the tax refunds.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Wells. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bellfield. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries. We are now on commissioner comments. Thank you, Mr. Wren. And you look like you're in your late 40s, sir, not 100. Item 15, commissioner comments. Any comments from commissioners at this time?
I just
Ms.
remind
Moore?
everyone of the Hope Initiative fundraiser. That's Thursday night at Wesleyan.
Do need a ticket to attend?
Yes, you do. I'm sure you can get, I think you can get them online or from the chief or Gene Allman. There are others.
Right. All right, any other item? I think Commissioner Wells, Commissioner Bellfield will be leaving Wednesday, Thursday? Thursday. Going to Nashville, Tennessee to the NACO meeting. Be gone till Monday, I believe. Coming back Monday or Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Okay,
6 o'clock Tuesday morning.
6 o'clock Tuesday morning. Gotcha, okay.
Aren't you going?
I am going, sir.
Commissioner Davis is going
I'm
also.
told that I am driving, though not flying. And we are leaving Wednesday afternoon.
I would like to make a comment that we made our reservations early. Fred and I both are flying there and back for less than $400 round trip. It's $495 now for one person. So we are saving lots. We got a really good rate. We're flying, both of us flying there and back for what one person could go for.
That's what you call
Saving
early
money
bird and early planning.
Y'all help me pay for my gas going out there, didn't you?
Your gas will be more.
$66.
Your gas will be
more, I hope so. Any other comment from commissioners? Seeing none, item 16 is the manager report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Would like to just go over a few things. One, we will be having a joint meeting with the committee, the school board, and our three-person committee, Wednesday, July 11th at 3 o'clock. This meeting will be at the Board of Education. It's our regular meeting we've been having. We also have, on the 16th, next Monday, two openings, one at 2 o'clock at Rocky Mount Middle School, the new Center for Industry, Technology, and Innovation High School will be at 2 o'clock, ribbon cutting. And then we will have the opening for the new buildings at the Nash Community College at 4 o'clock. Both of those will be next Monday, the 16th. We will be meeting with the head of the airport, the county attorney, the planner, and myself will be meeting with the airport folks on Thursday regarding several matters. Also, while Mr. Wren is here, his report he gave us, of course, was through May, and we haven't received the vehicles for June yet, but it appears that our tax collection rate that his office has achieved this year will be around 98.74% compared to 98.57 last year. Excellent percentage rate, and it continues to go up every year under his leadership, and we appreciate it very much. Thank you very much. We need to have a meeting by the end of the month for home health to make a final decision once all the negotiations are completed and a contract for sale is finalized. Home health would like to get this done before, and the health department, Mr. Hill would like to get this done before August 1 because of reporting requirements for the past year. You can go a month without having to do a whole year's report. So we would like to meet. Is there anything special about July 30th, Vince?
I think Mr. Outlaw would.
I know,
Other
that's
than
good.
closing on the 31st was the potential, and so we wanted the board to be able to approve it before we closed.
Yeah. You have a conflict?
No, I'm good.
You're good?
31st is where I would have a conflict.
Oh, okay. Does anyone have a conflict on the 30th? If not, if we could have either, as I said, a recess meeting or a special meeting.
It can't be a special meeting, it has to be a regular meeting.
It has to be a
We've got to recess this meeting until that date.
Okay. What time would y'all like to meet on that day?
Standard time,
What day is that on Monday?
Monday.
The 30th.
2:30.
Monday?
9 o'clock, okay?
9 o'clock good with everybody? Okay.
I was gonna say 2:30.
What time?
Either one's fine.
9 or 2:30?
No.
9? You good with 9?
I'll put it down.
Okay.
I don't know.
We will recess this meeting then until July 30th at 9 a.m. We also need to set a date for the courthouse dedication. I think we could probably do the same time on the 30th, if you want to try to.
Are you ready then? Mike left.
Mike left. Can you get him and ask him? Finally, and we'll come back to that. At the retreat, the commissioners were, and the department heads were provided with certain promotional issues, a binder and a Nash County coffee mug. There was some suggestions from the commissioners into looking to provide a coffee mug to all the county employees, and we have moved forward with that purchase, and we will be distributing a coffee mug to each employee with the Nash County seal, or Nash County emblem, during this month. So I just want to let y'all know that we did that. And you could give me a few seconds and we'll find out if we can have that dedication for the courthouse on the 30th or some other date.
Is your thought to do it at 10 o'clock? We won't be here long, I don't think. 9 o'clock we'll.
No, we won't be here long at all. Okay. He's on his way. He's coming up the stairs.
While we're waiting, Mr. Lamb, you mentioned the joint meeting with the school committee on the 11th. Will there be an agenda published in advance of that meeting?
We will request one from them since they're hosting the meeting, and we will get it to you as soon as we have it. If there's anything you want to add to it, let me know, and we'll make sure it's on the agenda.
No, I would just like to know what's on
Yeah,
the agenda.
but anything the board wants to add to it. Oh, yeah, the courthouse dedication. When can we do it on July the 30th?
We can try to make that happen. August, they're telling me that July 15th is when they'll hand the whole building over to us. If we can get people moved and begin court in that 2-week period, we should be able to do that. Shouldn't be a problem. I can double check if that's going to be an issue and have you an answer in 15 minutes.
Okay, well, if we could tentatively, since we're meeting that morning anyway at 9 o'clock.
Monday.
That Monday, the 30th,
We could do it on the, if we need a little more time, I certainly would
do it the following Monday.
Do it on the 6th.
do it on the 6th, at our regular schedule.
Give him
That's
more
fine.
time.
That's fine.
That, we can meet, I think we can meet the ribbon cutting, and then they may not start sessions there until the following week or something, but we could certainly, we should be able to do that with the opening of the building by then.
Would you prefer the 30th or the following Monday?
I'd always like more time,
Okay.
but I do think we are that close. I mean, it's a matter of a week here or there, so.
It would be a tad bit easier to schedule on the 30th time Pacific than it would be on the 9th.
That's true.
But we could do either one.
Well, let
That's
me,
the landlord
let me
decision.
check with them. We're having our meeting on that tomorrow, and I should have a hard date for turnover tomorrow afternoon.
And it doesn't require, since we're meeting anyway at 9 o'clock, and we're meeting the next time automatically, so
And we can certainly pause at any time. Let's just set it for the 6th and set it for 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock one, and we'll, just stop the meeting.
Certainly.
To take care of that and come back.
Suggest you check with Judge Sumner to make sure he's.
Sure.
Yeah, I need to check for session, when the sessions begin and stuff.
yeah,
Okay, well, let's try to do it for the 6th then.
Okay, all right.
okay, sounds good. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, thank you.
All right, any other comments from commissioners? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion for closed session. Session will be for economic development and other matters of attorney-client privilege.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Outlaw,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bellfield. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign, and seeing none, the motion carries.